Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kakadash. Double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Mystery, to the Akim Akrath, try the falconers of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth to the gospel, Lord Amashak Yahweh in these days and times. This is Brother Menashe, DC Camp. Short lesson for the hopeful elect. Yeah, so everything about the end of Babylon, aka America, it's orchestrated according to the prophecy of Yahweh Shemel Shai, Bashim Kakadash, and let certain key phrases, as you see on the screen, it just proves that the words of the Lord is, is heavy, and you know it's what keeps the prophets awake at night. It's fearful, man, to ignore serious and heavy words from the Lord. And it's chaotic times that we're living in. And, this lesson, I should have done this a while ago. But, you can't put off the spirit, man, because the spirit ain't going to let you rest. So I'm just about to go into this missiles, man. Gotta just talk about it. Yeah, because we know that the MOTB has to hit the ground running, before the missiles become the main concern. All right. So the Dongfeng, that East Wind series. So Dongfeng is a Moabite word. All right, it means east wind. So it says it's a family of Chinese short, medium, intermediate, and intercontinental range ballistic missiles, all right, ICBMs, operated by the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force. All right, so it tells you about the range from 280 kilometers to 15,000 kilometers. It says these weapons feature conventional and nuclear capabilities with advanced road mobile system like the DF-41 and hypersonic DF-17, enhancing regional and strategic deterrence. So, yeah, it's a lot, a lot of effort that, goes into the development of these missiles, man. It's no joke. You have to use the right type of material for the body, and then for the internals and all that stuff. The design has to be 100% effective. They're not looking for 75%, 80%, 90%. They want pinpoint accuracy. That's the reason why they invest a lot into all this electronics and materials engineering. All right, so it's a lot, to digest, man. So these are the type of things that makes you remember to fear the Lord, man. Look at all the varieties of missiles of the East Wind, man. Varieties, varieties. This is just what Moab has, and they also have some other ones. All right. So you can also imagine what Iran has too. You can imagine what Europe has. All right. So, and not even mention Russia. All right. The type of missiles that Russia has. So you just have to, be clear in your mind that there's a lot, going on behind the scenes that is not really talked about in the news, and there's a lot, well, a lot going on behind the scenes, and then you also have the black market that doesn't really get much attention. All right, so that's exactly what the elites do, man. They're always trading information, to their own agenda, and that's exactly they have to push for mass destruction. All right, they always have to decide how they're going to carry out the destruction that's going to be upon the face of the earth. Unbeknownst to them, that is the Lord's plan anyway. Okay, no one can hijack the plans of the Lord. The Most High cannot be bribed, right? The Most High cannot be negotiated with, because it is His plan after all, to orchestrate things, and He has to guarantee the outcome. Okay, that's what know, the Lord is all about. The all powerful and the all knowing. So I'm going to get a quick precept. You have to be aware that when you go through the scriptures and you search for the term east wind, it's going to take you back to the time of our forefathers. All right, you know what? I just put it on my other app. When you read from Genesis, you know what? I'm not going to waste time. I'm going to get it on the app right here. So Genesis chapter 41. You're going to have to understand that everything that happens now is already been orchestrated, from before the foundations of the earth. And we're just going to see that the Most High is not, a man that should lie. All right, all his actions line up. It's like a puzzle piece. Puzzle pieces you have to put together. So when you read his dream from Genesis 41, the dream that Pharaoh had, before the Lord had to descend upon him, descend upon him with a famine. This was before the time of our forefather Moses. All right, so this is Genesis 41. If you read from verse 1 to verse 7, it tells you how the Moses had to plague Pharaoh with all this chaos that's about to come in the future. Yeah, so I'm going to read from Genesis 41, 1 to 7. It says, "And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they were fed in the meadow. And behold, 7 other kine came up after them out of the river, ill-favored and lean-fleshed, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke." Yeah, so you know what happened, right? So you had a terrifying, situation that the animals you know, eat up each other, man, and that's how terrible the Lord can be, man. You know, he gave Pharaoh a similitude of cannibalism, a herbivore eating flesh. All right, so that's how terrible Most High can be, man. You know, verse 5, and he slept and dreamed the second time, and behold, 7 ears of corn came up upon one stalk, rank and good, and behold, 17 ears, blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them, and the 17 ears devoured the seven rank and full ears, and Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. So that's how terrible the Lord can be. When he just want to show His hand. That's the type of strategy that the Lord uses, man. Just to throw people off balance. That's exactly what the Lord do. What He does, and that's one of His unique characteristics, man. That's why you have to fear the Lord, man. It's no joke. So when you see all these inventions, man, you know, it makes you wonder what's its use? What's its use? And then you begin to realize that in the future it's going to be used for a greater purpose. And that's where the nuclear missiles come in, man. It's a form of judgment, that is pending to be unleashed upon the earth. And a lot of people are scared of what's to come. And some folks are just, rejoicing, especially the elect of Hamashiach Yahushai, that this chaos has to be unleashed upon the earth. And that's what we are looking forward to, man. Because when you watch the news and you hear all this stuff about Pizzagate, Epstein, this, digital currency, those are very, very important topics, to look into, man, because it all leads up, to chaos in society. And how does that chaos get managed? The Lord has to unleash the forces of destruction. All right. So, from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, it says, what? Thus said the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai Shema Kalkadash, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst thereof, or in the midst of them that rise up against me, a destroying wind. Okay, so that's one thing you have to remember, because when you look into the scriptures and you type out the phrase the east wind is not known to represent something nice. It represents anguish, suffering, and all that stuff. Just like when you look into the book of Exodus, the plague of the locust, that our forefather Moses had to go before Pharaoh to let him know that, Yasharallah has to depart from Egypt, and since Pharaoh's heart was hardened, the Mosai had to press upon him, man, several times, man. So now when you read Genesis 41, you hear about the east wind. That represents disturbance. You know, an interruption and all that stuff. And that's the reason why you have to pay attention to certain keywords when you hear that on the news. You read it in your news reports, even in the speeches. All right, so yeah, you have to look into it, man. All right, because it's necessary. We keep up with current events. All right, they're all parts of prophecy. So when we read Exodus chapter 10 from 13 to 15, it says, "And Moses, right, and Moshe stretched forth his hand over the land of Egypt, and the Lord Yahweh brought an east wind upon the land, and all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts." Yeah, so you can imagine what's going to happen to America very soon, man. Because when you hear about the plague of locusts in America, you remember the plagues of Egypt. And what did the locusts do? Verse 14, the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt, and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. And, all right, it says, very grievous were they before them. There were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. All right, that tells you much more about the missiles that's coming to America, man. You know, the the chaos, that these locusts were allowed to wreak upon the land of Egypt is gonna be something to remember. You know, that's coming to America very soon, man. So when you think about these locusts, you just think about the missiles, man. Because when you remember the scriptures talks about how send unto Babylon finers. Yeah, incidents like this reminds you that there's a lot of chaos coming to America. So verse 15 says, "For they cover the face of the whole earth, so that the land of Egypt was darkened." Alright, so that's a lot. That's millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of locusts. Yeah, so they blocked out the sun. Alright, so you can imagine. And they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruits of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees, in the herb of the field, through all the land of Egypt. Alright, so you can see that, man. That's what you call a total wipeout, man. Biological, a biological attack that the Mosai unleashed upon Egypt. So this is just the things that we have to be aware of, man. Because you have to be careful, man. With these creatures, you never know when the Mosai put spirit upon them. To go into attack mode. So you have to be in tune with the spirit. This is why we have to take warning from the Lord, so you don't fall victim, to the plagues coming upon the face of the earth, man. Because the spirit of the Lord, man, it's not something you have to ignore, and that's why we have to remember. Second Corinthians chapter 5, Verse 11 says, knowing therefore the terror of the Lord will persuade men. Alright? Yeah, knowing therefore the terror of the Lord will persuade men. Yeah, so those that of the mind of receiving correction, they will have to, get along with the Most High's program. And nobody's, wants their heart to be hardened like Pharaoh. So we have to be extremely in tune with the Spirit. You gotta be careful. And another precept I would like to look into is from the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 29. And then you look at, see, it tells you about Egypt, man. Set thy face, all right? In the 10th year, in the 10th month, and in the 12th day of the month, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and prophesy against him and against all Egypt. Okay? So you can imagine all that the Most High had to have his prophets proclaim against the land of Egypt, against Pharaoh. Alright? So you can imagine what the Lord has in store against the elites of Babylon. Alright, you hear about all these rich, powerful men that cannot be addressed by your regular politician. So the Lord has to take care of that situation, because there are certain people that are beyond the reach of your regular law enforcement agency, man. That's where the Lord steps in, okay? Because the Most High is the only one that can shake them to the core. So when you read Ezekiel chapter 29 and 12, it says what? It says, and I will make the land of Egypt desolate in the midst of the countries that are desolate, and her cities among the cities that are laid waste shall be desolate 40 years. I will scatter the Egyptians among the nations, and I will disperse them through the countries. All right. So expect, the hand of the Lord to come upon the elites of Babylon, man. The Lord has to tear down, this enterprise of Egypt. The Most High has to disperse, the Egyptians, those that are going to be fleeing out of Babylon, looking for safe haven from the destroying wind, from the destruction that's been unleashed. Yeah, they're going to be scattered. So that's the judgment that's coming to America. The displacement of its population. All right, you're going to have elimination and displacement. All right, elimination and displacement, and that's one thing you learn of, doing war. All right, you have the folks that are delivered. You have the folks that what you call the casualties of war. All right, but in this case, man, there is no salvation for Babylon. Okay, so that's just what they're gonna have to be thinking of, man. When the judgment comes for them, they're gonna be hiding, in their bunkers and all that stuff underwater. There'll be some remote place far away from the chaos. All right, and you just have to be careful that you don't mix up, the words of prophecy and get the wrong information. You don't want to do that, okay? Yeah, that's why it's important, to have a better understanding of the scriptures, the spirit. Always learn by watching brothers, watching the apostles, provide important information. All right, you want to be as accurate as possible. All right. So the book of Joel, chapter 2 and 3, tells you about this chaos, man, that's coming upon the land. Joel 2 and 1. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble. For the day of the Lord cometh, it is now at hand. So the day of the Lord is that day that the destroying wind shall be unleashed. The scripture tells you about the angels holding back the winds of destruction. All right, in the book of Revelation, it tells you that, man. All right. Verse 2 says, a day of darkness. All right, remember that? As the locusts cover the sky. A day of darkness and gloominess. A day of clouds and thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains. A great people and a strong. There had not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. So you see, this precept here is similar to what we read in the book of Exodus, chapter 13. Actually, Exodus chapter 10. Exodus chapter 10, verses 13 to 15. Pull it up real quick. Alright, so you see what it says? Okay, so you see that in verse 14, and the locusts went up all over the land of Egypt and rested in all the coasts of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there were no such locusts as they, neither after them shall be such. Alright, so you can imagine how the Messiah puts clues in his precepts, and the Spirit of the Lord has to make you look closely to see what's happening, and that's how you realize that these are not ordinary sayings. These are sayings with meanings, all right, that are in strategic places. They're in sacred, in the sacred parts of your mind. The Messiah has to make you see what is necessary, to be revealed. All right. So now you read the book of, let's see, Joel 2 and 3. What does it say? It says, a fire devoured before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. All right, just like the locusts. All right, the locusts did a perfect job on the vegetation of Egypt, on the source of livelihood for Egypt. All right, so the Most High has a way of oppressing Egypt, man. In this time, in this what we call day and age, you know, folks talk about sanctions. These are sanctions from the Lord, man. Yeah, the plagues of Egypt are sanctions that the Lord put upon Egypt. All right, and that's what you call a complete, what you call a regime of sanctions. So that's how valuable your salvation is to the Lord, man. That is willing to put sanctions upon our enemies. He's willing to destroy the the fortresses of our enemies so that we can be delivered. So that's the reason why we have to, prepare ourselves, man, to be separated from Babylon, psychologically and spiritually. Yeah, so, just to keep the lesson brief and short as much as I can, when you read Joel 3 and 19, it says what? Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. All right. So, yeah, the Lord has to visit his wrath upon the heads of our enemies, the head of our oppressors. All right, the Lord is not coming because of politics. He's not coming because of the desires of economic stability. The Lord is bringing justice, man. The Lord has to make a move against his enemies, man. He has to make a serious move that the enemies cannot have a formidable response. All right, and that's the reason why Esau wants to hold on to this birthright of the sword so bad, because he believed that is his only ticket. All right, his only ticket to staying on top, and that's the, the that's a characteristic of a mortal mind. When the mind is steeped in the flesh, the lowest of human instincts, that's what happens, man. You know, he doesn't realize that the word of the Lord is what set things in motion. It's not by the sword, it's not by the strength of man. All right, and Esau has no recourse, man. He has no redress. Just like the folks that say they need to petition their government and all that stuff to have or what you call a hearing. There's nothing for them, to petition the Lord for. All right, because that door of petition, was never opened unto them. So now they want to think they could force it open with a sword. Yeah, there is no negotiation. The Lord does not negotiate, with adversaries. That He is about to eviscerate from off the face of the earth. Yeah, so there is no consideration for diplomacy with the Lord. Esau doesn't have that option offered to him by the Lord. There is no intercessor for the Edomites. All right, so that's the problem that they cannot solve. And that's the reason why Lord Hamashiach Yahushai is going to be the leading persecutor, to destroy the foundries of Esau's weapons, man. His weapon system, his ammunition, everything, man, has to go. And that's what we are looking forward to. The Lord has to make an example out of his enemies. So that's the point of this lesson, man. So everything that you need to learn about the scriptures, you can always go back to the book of Genesis. You can always read in the parables, man. Because there's salvation in the name of the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai. All right, that's the reason why. When you do lessons on the name, you realize that wow, there's some old story from the Old Testament that you can refer to. So that's how the Lord, wants us to, to learn and to grow. He's built that foundation, and you have to start with the foundations that were laid before. All right. So expect more revelations from the Lord. As you study according to His Spirit, and realize, man, that Esau is upset. His power structure is going through cracks. All right, he can feel it in the spirit. The whole world is observing the demise of the West. The West is falling apart. Now they have to force their hand upon the people. When the people, they're beginning to pull away. And what does Esau want to do? He has to stretch forth his hand to pull them back in. So that's what's going on, and that's what you see as by the situation in Venezuela. And that's what you also see in West Africa, man. When Judah, Benjamin, and Levi are beginning to make moves to depart out of the grasp of Edom, out of the hand of the beast. What does the beast do? Yeah, what does the EU do? What does NATO do? They have to stretch forth their hand to pull the people back into the fold, the fold of oppression. That's what Esau has to do. All right, so that's the conclusion of this lesson. I will go into some other topic. As the Lord permits. Shalom.